We
We
we are live for the 21st episode of Burning Subjects.
after he missed a week.
Yes, I missed a week, but that's because last
Also happy inauguration day to Joe Biden.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Anyway,
And enter the politics. Well,
oh yeah.
I'm not entering
Anyway,
politics, but
I mean the political jokes. But let's just carry on with the subject.
yes, but before anything, you'll probably notice that I have a different background. That's because I now have a new setup right here. It's more comfortable. It's better to work for me. So, yeah. And, well, last week, the reason that there was no video, no broadcast, is because last week was our first attempt at starting to live stream Steam Force, which that was a failure. Could have gone better. You know.
And Steven dropped out.
Gentlemen, someone in a 6103 Flying Scotsman says, gentlemen, the southern cylinder cock is here. Okay?
synchronize your death watches.
Alright, but anyway.
Oh my god.
Oh, look at that. We got four people.
I don't see Flying Scotsman's message yet.
Well, anyway. In this episode of Burning Subjects, we're going to be talking about 5 botched jobs, which when it comes to restorations for steam locomotives is a very unhealthy thing. Don't mind my mother in the background.
In the meantime, I just ordered some Bojangles.
Well, yeah, botched jobs for steam locomotives are a very bad thing because every little vital component needs to be in perfect condition in order for the thing to continue to running like it would back in the days. But when you botch them together, like really quickly, it just goes down the drain really quickly. Some examples of botched jobs would be, of course, the infamous 3985 botch job.
Well, again, they did maintain the engine somewhat enough to get 30 years out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was originally botched.
It definitely could have been much better.
Oh, it could have been much better, but that was just an example of one botch job. Yes, it could have actually lasted much longer, but then again, if they
were able to give the locomotive a much more thorough initial refurbishment between 1979 and 81.
Yes,
but the fact that it was only a volunteer effort, that wasn't the case.
Yes, but we're going to be talking about 6 botched jobs, actually. We have, 6 botched jobs, even though I thought there were going to be 5, but we got 6, actually. We got a nice change here. We got one from the UK and a couple from Canada, and that's nice. So, number 6 is on none other than the Can Canuck.
Steven, did you hear that?
Yes, the worst steam excursion car ever.
Well, to put it bluntly, when 3254 was restored originally for the Gettysburg, they didn't bother to repair the bent frame, which, of course, the bent frame is the reason that it had such a laughable career. If that frame was repaired... Streaming.
Okay, well,
it wasn't straightened out, though, so it was bent like a banana.
Yeah, and this caused a lot of problems. This caused a lot of problems. With the bent frame, the bearings would begin...
Cancer.
Hmm?
I said, fuck the minions, they're cancer.
Yeah, I said that the 3254's frame was bent like a banana, and then I said to Steven, enter the minions. Lol.
But yeah. Because of
I'm despicable.
Because of 32...
They should have called me Gru.
Yeah, you grew onto us.
Okay, back to 3254 before I start bludgeoning you to death for that terrible joke.
Yeah, but as I said, because of that bent frame, the locomotive's drivers became very uneven, and because of those uneven drivers, the connecting rods weren't able to attach it straight. And so, when they weren't attached straight, the bearings would begin to chew themselves dangerously out to the point where the thing was, yeah.
Not to mention, when it was first restored by the Gettysburg, there was no fanfare. It wasn't like 1218, for example, where it got rechristened by Robert Clare.
Yes. And speaking of,
here's another thing I've learned about 3254.
Yeah.
And that is when she operated in Steamtown, the crews never actually, despite the fact she was an iconic locomotive, the crews actually never liked operating her because because of the bent frame, she proved herself to be like a very rough rider.
Yeah. Also, because of the bent frame, the engine's cab is off-centered. But if it's like rotated or tilted to either the left or to the right, that's actually bad.
Not to mention, it also has a poor fuel combustion.
Poor fuel consumption, not combustion, consumption. Different things.
And then you said poor fuel combustion.
You accidentally said poor fuel combustion. Like maybe it was good at burning fuel, but it didn't do it. But it didn't do so with a high efficiency, but with a low efficiency. Like, needless to say, to put it, in more organic terms, it was very hungry for fuel.
Yeah.
Literally, because it was a coal burner.
And you should have just got dirty diapers shovel in the firebox.
What?
What? Oh!
It just got so succulent.
But
what the fuck?
Yeah, but anyway, let's go on to number 5. Number 5, Jim is definitely going to want to talk about this one. Number 5 is none other than the London Mid-Scottish Railways Royal Scot number 6100.
Ooh! You clever bastard! You very, very clever bastard!
Yeah, ever since I was told to, I've been watching some more of those videos of local profiling.
Or you mean Steam Locos in Profile by Chris Eden Green?
Yes, I've been watching a lot of those.
Use entire classes.
Yes, and I've seen some of the Royal Scots. I've seen the A1s, A4s, and I've also seen some of Gresley's others. And what was it? The
Britannias?
No, not the Britannias. It's the creator with a B in his name, like
Billington.
Yes, Billington. The 460s. I've been seeing a lot of 460s from him. So, and I also.
You actually bought You actually bought the other DVDs.
No, not the DVDs. I just saw some of them on YouTube.
Oh, you should definitely buy the Steam Locos and Profile DVDs because they can be played anywhere.
Yes,
and you can. And each DVD also comes with bonus episodes. But anyway, when it comes to Royal Scots refurbishment, well, firstly, some people may say that it wasn't actually Royal Scot that's preserved.
Well,
so that number
before you continue,
6100 is actually number 6152, the King's Dragoon Guardsman.
Before you continue, I have to go do something.
Due to a supposed permanent name and number swap, when the 6152 was sent over, I want to say in 1933, 1933, for the Chicago World's Fair, I believe, or whatever. And so they didn't want to send the real Royal Scot, so they went with 6152, renumbered and renamed as Royal Scot. But the thing is, some people would say that the locomotive had that they didn't swap numbers back, so they remained permanently swapped. But needless to say, whether it's Royal Scot or the King's Dragoon Guardsmen, so in terms of engine numbers, whether it's 6152, 6100 or 6152, it actually took a very long time for the locomotive to be refurbished. It ended up being preserved in at a holiday camp in it ended up being on display at a holiday camp from Sir Billy Butlin. But it was eventually repurchased. It was eventually acquired by a group of guys, by a group of people who were refurbishing the locomotive. And when it comes to looks, holy crap, it did actually look pretty damn awesome. Now, this look would actually cause a bit of a stir with armchairs, basically the British term for purists, because the locomotive was repainted in LMS red. I got a nice rear picture of it here from Wikipedia of the engine in LMS red without the deflectors on. It actually looks like sex on wheels. But unfortunately, there were quite a few problems with it. Like, yes, the LMS red is nice, but the locomotive was actually preserved in a rebuilt condition where, historically speaking, it wouldn't have carried LMS red. The earliest livery it would have carried was a more spicy version of LMS black. But paint job aside, I can let it slide. In fact, I prefer this color scheme. But unfortunately, mechanically speaking, it was definitely a botched job. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm repeating Chris Eden Green here, but needless to say, there were rumors of some of the pipe work on the locomotive being made of household plumbing.
What?
I shit you not. There were also, the locomotive was also pressed into service wherever it was operating before the paint had even dried. The valve timing in the piston valves for the Walshart's valve gear was very offbeat to the point where it sounded like it had a bit too much to drink. So, I guess you could kind of joke, they were fueling her up with beer instead of water. Lol. So, just pour alcoholic beverages in the water tank of the tender, whatnot. Lol. Because it did sound like it was drunk. And I believe the wheels on the axles, like the driving wheels, were also lightly slipping on the axles themselves, which caused them to move out of alignment. Not that they would be quartered on a 3-cylinder engine. I think they would be more so offset by 120 degrees. So, that would create 6 chuffs per rotation. But needless to say, the wheels would kind of run out of alignment or something. So, yeah. And also, the last thing that I remember from the top of my head, it caught fire on the back of a truck.
Oy.
Disco Inferno indeed. It wasn't necessarily a totally crap overhaul, but it definitely could have been done better.
Exactly.
It only operated for a couple of weekends at the side where it operated. It would appear that it was the Flying Gofflin Railway in North Wales. But needless to say, the engine remained out of service for another 6.5 years before it finally made its return in 2016. It literally just operated in. It came back in March of 2009 or something, and it properly returned in 2016, even late 2015. The good news: the engine runs beautifully now. It's actually in properly good mechanical shape. The bad news for me: It's painted in what I truly believe to be the #1 worst livery you can put on an LMS engine.
There's too much BR green!
Yes, British Rail Brunswick green. I'm sorry, people, but I hate seeing that on an LMS engine.
I mean, I'm fine with
Would
it.
you rather it be in BR black? Is that preferable?
Yeah, BR black would actually be preferable, because at least it's one of the two colors that I would think of when I hear LMS.
Well,
Green,
just be black.
one of them.
Granted, it is not as bad as putting a black 5 in BR green.
No.
Because in fucking
Yeah, no,
true Thomas fan fashion, because in true Thomas fan fashion, everybody would be like, "It's Henry! It's Henry!"
Now, anyway, but yeah, needless to say, I'm not a big fan of seeing British Rail green on an LMS designed engine. Even if it was technically built after nationalization by British Railways, I still don't really like it. But yeah,
Again,
like,
BR black could work a little better.
yeah, I would prefer BR black, even though some people would probably think that I'm a complete nut bar for saying that.
But
But
honestly,
needless to say, like, for me in a perfect world, the true Royal Scot would combine the exceptionally well executed mechanical repairs that she ended up with in 2016 with that undeniably gorgeous LMS
red livery, yeah.
Yeah, like, I probably should have mentioned the Hogwarts Express, but it looks like a Hogwarts Express engine on steroid.
No, the Fury is the Hogwarts Express on steroids.
Olden Hall. Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, but speaking of, with a lot of Stanier designed LMS engines, you can definitely see a strong influence of GWR in them. I mean, clock smoke dart on the smoke box door, tapered boiler, top feed, Belpaire firebox.
Yeah. And now, now
how
that we've
about to piss off the purists? To piss off the purists, put it in BR blue.
Steven, if you're
Oh my god! I'm seeing a license plate, and it has 3254's original number on it, 2854.
low.
but wait,
Speaking of, actually,
well, guys,
before we can move on, let me just very quickly show you this. I don't know if it's a live Steam model, but I'm going to chuck it in the Burning Subjects channel here. This is a small model of another LMS locomotive that wasn't preserved, number 5573, which is a Jubilee type locomotive. Well, as in the Jubilee class of locomotives. Yeah, it's a 460 10-wheeler, but that class was called Jubilees. But you may notice experimental LMS light blue. If you're going with blue on an LMS engine, make it that.
wow, it's like a nice light bluish.
Yeah.
But whatever you do, don't put it on a tank engine.
I'm putting it on one anyway.
Hey,
Dan, don't, Dan! All the Thomas fans are coming out.
Andrew.
What?
Not even on a Ginty?
I'm doing it anyway.
Okay, fair enough.
When it comes to that
you know what?
brown and cream livery that you may see,
You know what? It's
like that line detailing, that was actually the more spicy version of LMS black that I'm hinting at.
You know what? I'm fine with it on a Ginty, but any other tank engines, and I'm a slap a bitch.
I'm doing it on any other tank engine. Fight me.
Like, for another example, here's that LMS black version with the only other surviving Royal Scot, number 6115, Scots Guardsman, which sadly, at the moment, is also preserved in BR green.
Your scream cut out for a second.
I know this sounds childish,
down to the several hundreds of GWR engines that are painted in BR green.
But
I can deal with that because the engine number didn't change. Lol.
Anyway, now
What's number 4?
we've over obsessed about United Kingdom
Royal Scots.
10-wheel.
Dragoon Guardsmen, whatever.
Now to go back to America for a little bit, as we talk about number 4, which is also Chesapeake in Ohio, 2716, also known as Southern 2716 for this particular one.
Yes, the initial refurbishment by the Southern. That's
Yes.
also a bit of a botched job.
Exactly, and what I'm going to talk about. 2716, if you don't know, when it was first restored by the Southern Railway for their steam program, was actually put together with wrong parts. Like, for the boiler, they used the traditional Southern copper tubes, which wear out much quicker. And they also actually didn't do a very good job at restoring the firebox, the locomotive's boiler altogether. Because, as you know, after only a year in service, the 2716 suffered a couple of firebox cracks. And then after that...
And then they replaced it with an overrated Berkshire, a.k.a. the most overrated of all the Berkshires in the fucking preservation of the fucking planet. And then the notorious J-Class engine.
Yeah.
If I had a counter for how many times Steven is going to say overrated, I'd probably be a billionaire and possibly restore 5361.
Well, then I'd be a billionaire and I'd restore 433, complete with my cosmetic alterations, and do more than what all of its, bigger cousins ever got to do in preservation.
Dude, I'm gonna simply send 433 to Afghanistan, make it commit war.
Okay, but also, back to 2716, I actually have a bit of valuable input.
Yeah.
They also didn't do a very good job when it came to doing the repairs on the driving rods or main rods. Because what I've heard, when it comes to the bearing that will be, on the crank axle, with the third pair of driving wheels, they actually kind of botched it to make the bearing there much more primitive, so that it wouldn't last as long, or that it wouldn't cope with, or that it couldn't actually cope with particularly high speeds or whatever. Because I thought that there used to be some kind of floating bushing in there, but they didn't bother with that, and they just kind of hammered something in there that was a bit too tight, so it couldn't move, so it couldn't move as smoothly.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
yes.
Because the Southern wasn't. They weren't that high tech.
So when it comes to...
Well, they are in the South. They were in the South.
Well, in conclusion,
South.
Southern 2716 may have been probably the most beautiful looking Burke I've ever seen. That beautiful striping, gold eagle, white smokebox front. I don't know why, but I like those. But
or it's very light gray.
Yeah, it's very light gray.
I just like that way better than the C&O livery. I mean, really. Even though they didn't change the number, it still looks amazing.
Yes, but we can all agree that the 2716 may have looked beautiful. It may, when it comes to the actual mechanical refurbishments, may have been a little bit of a downfall. But
then
yeah.
Again, I'm pretty sure that had 2716 been operable, like all the way, like had they actually, did the restoration properly, what do you think would have actually happened, when it comes to 611?
Most likely 611 would have not ran at all.
By the way, Andrew, I noticed that you're in Gmod, you're on Blue Line, and you're speeding along uphill in a little tank engine.
Wait, what?
And in fact, you just derailed and crashed into a wall.
Wait, what? I didn't see this! I'm too busy at the stream. Was I AFK? Did I leave the throttle open by accident or something?
Yes.
Oops.
Yes. Dude, maybe you need to come and back. Maybe you need to back down. Hop into Gmod real quick and just back down, or otherwise.
Can you just put my locomotive? Can you just move my locomotive somewhere, please, for me?
I don't have your prop protection yet.
What?
Since I had to uninstall and reinstall Steam, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Also, I think there's a goddamn thruster on it.
There's a
Thruster busters.
there's a thruster on it. Well, no wonder it just ran off.
Yeah, you seriously hop back into Gmod real quick if that's possible.
It's not possible because then the stream will cut out.
Oh, cock.
But I guess
Cock.
I guess
Cock and balls.
I
And
guess
now that I said that, you're gonna say cock and ball torture.
Yeah,
Fucking
cock
ball
and ball torture from week. And you went over a ravine.
I don't know what's happening, but I'm having
What are we
contagious
talking about
laughter.
again? Something about 2016?
Yes, that was 2716 is number 4 when it comes to botch jobs, and now number 3, which Dan is going to come over.
Oh,
None
so
other.
what I think it is.
Number 3 is none other than Canadian Pacific 2860.
The Royal Hudson.
Yep, the Royal Hudson 2860.
Let's fucking go!
One of only 2 of the Royal Hudsons to operate in preservation. The other being
Actually, one of 3 Canadian Pacific Hudsons to operate.
Okay, excuse me, I forgot. Empress. Right. I count the streamlined ones as Royal Hudsons, and I unstreamlined ones Empress.
The unstreamlined ones may be just unstreamlined, but deep down, they all have the same blood in them.
Still Hudsons, I guess. Hudsons are Hudsons, I guess.
Yes. Any fucking way. 2860. Oh, fucking boy. That engine served the BC Rail thing between 1974, 1975 until around 1999.
Holy
And
crap.
and she may have had a successful career in BC Rail, proving herself as like a worthy excursion star. It's much so worthy to the point where she even got herself a backup locomotive, Canadian Pacific 3716. Jim, don't take any ideas. Anyway.
Also, Empress is that. Also, I just hate to interrupt, but Empress is Queen and 2860 King. Okay.
Any fucking way.
Oh.
When 2860 was first refurbished, she proved it was out it was pretty much a botch job. And here's the thing: after the 1999 season ended, 2860 was found to have some serious leaks from things from the superheater elements, and such as the superheaters and arch tubes were actually known to be life expired, and other major boiler work was required, along with a fucking boiler leak. And BC Rail would have been like, you know what, we'll do that. You know what, we're going to get this done. But cost was in the way. Just money is just way too much for them. Also, the fall of BC Rail, which was coming up until which didn't happen until 2003. Oh, and 2860's restoration was pretty much sidelined due to the fact that BC Rail was doing pretty much a contracted restoration for another steam locomotive, and that's 2816. It was at their own shop being rebuilt under the contract by Canadian Pacific. And here's the thing: unlike 2860, 2816's restoration was considered to be the most extensive restoration in all of Canada. And that pretty much got in the way of 2860. And after the Royal Hudson, and after the fall of the BC Rail excursions, 2860 would be sent to the West Coast Railway Association. And you would think that the West Coast Railway Association, when they restored the locomotive, they would have fixed the problems that she'd have, in her previous years. However, that wasn't the case. All they did is just done a few patches and a few just redone the boiler work. And this restoration
get it running again.
Yes, the restoration took just over 1 year at the cost of $250,000. And here's the thing. It may be a great, and she may have been fired up, but you want to know how long she only lasted for?
How long?
4 years.
A whopping 3 years.
Oh my God.
Unfortunately, in 2009 or 2010, that was the last time she ever saw excursions. And ever since, 2860 is back on display. But here's the thing. Although the West Coast Railway Association is now collecting funds for a restoration, there's still some things that are getting in the way. First off, the major boiler work that needs to be done. Yes, they may have reinstalled new flues, but everything else, holy Jesus, please spare this engine from its pain. There's tons of mechanical issues that need to be repaired, and even a complete boiler work needs to be done. I think from what I've heard, that it needs a completely new firebox because the current one was poorly patched. Oh, and the rough estimate
warped.
No. That's no. But here's the thing: 2860. The estimate cost for her restoration is around $3 million.
Whoa!
US dollars?
Canadian.
That sounds like $1.5 million in the States.
That's still roughly too large for Canada.
I mean,
Holy.
And
how much money did it take for Union Pacific to restore the big boy?
From what I've heard, they initially had a budget of $5 million US
What?
dollars, but I think they actually went over that somewhat.
Okay, never mind then. I'm not going to compare it. No.
Here's the thing, though, because there's a huge difference between 4014 and 2860. 4014's restoration was done by a Class 1 railroad. 2860's second time in restoration, that was by a railway society, not by any Class 1 railroad. And
Yeah, that's why I was done comparing it. But anyway, continue.
So, with this all in mind, there's one particular thing that's blocking 2860's chance of returning to steam, and it's basically the coffin for 2860 to ever come back. CNR. When BC Rail fell, Canadian National planted a no steam policy.
But for what?
Because
so they could run their glorified semi trucks.
No, Canadian National. No, here's the thing. Canadian National is a railway that's all about business, and business they really are. Again, it's a railway all about business. So the only way 2860 can ever be brought back to service or be brought out on the main line is if they were sponsored by a different railroad, such as BNSF or the Southern Railway of British Columbia. Those were the only two major railroads that 2860 had a chance to run on. Canadian Pacific and Canadian National, they didn't allow them. But then again, 2860, the Canadian Pacific, before Harrison took over, 2860 was somewhat planned to do a doubleheader run with 2816. But they have to do some kind of. But the thing is, they were looking at different ways of trying to get her out. Because here's the thing: although the restoration was good, 2860's bearings and just her running gear, they just weren't suited enough for for some high speed runs, such as what 2816 would do on the main line. So they had to try to find some form of ways, but they never found it because, well, Harrison came in later on eventually. And along with that, 2860, she was pulled from service way before Harrison would even take over. So
I almost wish that, like when I'm old, like, and I find a time machine, I'm going to steal it, and then I'm going to go back to my past self and give myself some sort of almanac about steam excursion, and then I'm going to give my current self like an almanac about steam excursions in the 21st century, and then I'm basically going to take control of all the Class 1 railways in North America, like some alternate future Biff timeline.
Jeez.
That would be awesome if I could do that. Jesus. It's like, yeah, you can't run your damn glorified automobiles. I'm gonna make them. I don't even know. That's what diesels are, in my personal opinion. It doesn't have to be anybody else.
But I mean, you can somewhat say 2860, although she's done for. The previously mentioned 3716, she's still doing fine. She was sold to the Kettle Valley Steam Railway, and she is still operating to this day.
And Jim, I swear to God, if you show off that red paint scheme, I'm going to gut you like a fish.
I'm gonna crush your Anyway, basically, in conclusion, if the West Coast Railway Association even properly paid attention to the restoration of 2860, she wouldn't have operated for 3 years. She would have probably lasted a bit longer, say like 10 years, probably. And 2860, she may have been a beauty, and it may have been exciting to see her come again. But
deep down, in a way, I think personally, fucking 2860 is basically like the Canadian equivalent of 3985. It's done for in short term.
Almost. But it's not as bad. It's not as bad as 3985. But yeah.
Also, out of curiosity, Andrew, is 3985 on the list or not?
Obviously. In fact, it's the next one, actually.
Thank you for hearing my stuttering blabber and trying to fully explain the 2860 thing on my own. Someone please crucify me.
Oh my God.
I'll send you off to Billy Harrington.
Oh!
Okay, then how about Ricardo Milos?
Fine by me.
This is suddenly become a bit of a Gachibuchi special.
Anyway, though.
Anyway, 3985.
Yes.
We should all know the story by now.
Yes, number 2 for botched jobs is Union Pacific 3985 Jubblemont Challenger. Yes.
Big chongus of botched jobs. But yeah, basically, yeah. We all kind of know the story by now. It's been said several times. It was initially refurbished or restored, it got initial refurbishment or restoration or rebuild, however you want to say it, between 1979 and 81. And everything seemed just fine at first, but in truth, it wasn't fine. It was literally just a bunch of repairs to get the locomotive to move again. Over the next 30 years, seeing how the engine was used for quite a few hefty excursions and a few heavy freight trains, and seeing how there were some occasions where the engine has been running at speeds of 70 miles an hour, or maybe a bit faster, maybe even sometimes for fairly long periods of time. Yeah, that problems started to rise very slowly, but the more they rose, the more severe they became. For example, the front engine unit. It hasn't been removed since the engine's last major overhaul in the steam era at some point in the 1950s.
Jesus.
Yeah,
So that's
as a result of that, over time, it wouldn't move properly on its hinge joint. So, it wouldn't track properly, if you will. So, yeah, it wouldn't move quite the way it should as the engine was going through a curve. And on an articulated locomotive, if your frame doesn't track correctly, that's bad. That's very, very bad.
Very bad is an understatement. It's God tier bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad that I have here my wrenching anger for it.
Yeah. Nice wrench. Next
I
time
like
you
your
use it
wrench,
pointers. But yeah. Also, obviously, they initially kept it as a coal-fired locomotive. Okay, fairly easy fix. They just converted it to burn oil in 1990. So yeah, because UP was kind of sick and tired of all those line-side grass fires all the time. They pulled the plug on letting the engine run any further west than Ogden in 1983 or late 1982 or whatever, following lots and lots of line-side grass fires in the 1982 trip around Salt Lake City in Utah and around Boise in Idaho or whatever. But yeah.
I think it was in the early 90s when it was converted to oil, or 89, or not.
1990. That's when it was converted to burn oil, which did sadly rob UP of the chance to take it and meet up with the 1218 in St. Louis. That would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome. That would have been the first time in years that two articulated locomotives, like that, would have double-headed.
It would have also been the first time that a UP Challenger would have stood face to face or side by side with an NNWA class.
Which I prefer the A's over Challengers. Fight me.
At least you still have good taste.
Anyway, though.
But anyway,
no, Andrew, I prefer the M classes.
Of course you do.
The what class?
As I was saying, the oil conversion was needed, and but over the course of the next 20 years, they kept doing slight modifications on it. But it wasn't what the locomotive needed. At the end of the day, it just needed to be taken apart to be very thoroughly inspected and rebuilt. And that didn't happen. And as a result, now the engine is it's in rough shape. And tragically, there are still idiots around there who think that the engine might be in good shape and is easy to fix. And there are also people out there who are kind of talking to me, hey, did you know that the 3985 is retired? Like, dude, I know!
Yeah.
And then there are people who send death threats to Ed Dickens for retiring.
Yeah.
For the
and then there are also people who may make fun of me for, liking the 3985 at all. Even if I'm arguably one of the most level-headed and less stupid 3985 enthusiasts out there. Like, yes, I'm sad that the engine won't steam again for a very long time, but I understand why. Mechanically speaking, I'm going to drop an F-bomb here. it's fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, wait another 20 to 30 years, maybe 40 years if it really has to come down to that. Wait for the right circumstances. Wait for the right amount of money to be available. Wait for the right people who are willing to, step in and actually bring this giant back to its former glory. And most importantly, maybe wait for the right management on the Union Pacific who may actually see the potential, like the public relations potential in 3985, or at least the historical significance, because granted, compared to 4014 and 844, our favorite challenger doesn't have any real public relations trump cards over the other two.
Plus, isn't it a Union Pacific tradition to have a duo steam program?
Yeah, but even if they had 3 locomotives on the roster, it would make sense to only keep 2 of them operational at the same time. Not necessarily both of them fired up at the same time, just both of them operational at the same time, because it's easy for money. And Andrew is pulling off meme faces right there.
Poggers.
It's almost like okay. Back to the whole thing, saying like the right circumstances. It's almost like what Keith Creel was talking about about the 2816, because he said no many times. Every time people ask about the locomotive, but
he's being let me guess, he's being respectful about it, but he won't. But he won't dismiss the engine.
Yeah, because here's the thing. But here's the thing. When you have circumstances such as this COVID pandemic, you got to make some exceptions. And 2816 was a perfect exception. So maybe it's like a similar scenario with 3985. When you have a scenario where maybe something bad happened, you might need to pull some exceptions with 3985. It's not like the engine's going to be immediately run again because everybody is asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like there are lots of people who say, "Oh, we want to see the Challenger restored now." Like immediately after the big boy was restored. I get it; it would be awesome, but be happy with what you got. Like Steve Lee, arguably one of the main men that drove 3985. He said that it wouldn't be possible to refurbish a big boy in his time as UP steam manager. Here we are now with Ed Dickens. That mad lad actually managed to pull it off.
Yeah.
And also, he managed to convert it to burnt oil and make the locomotive a bit more powerful, and it works. The man is a genius. If you're going to say that he does a bad job, go stand in the corner and fucking be ashamed of yourself while I shove my foot up your ass.
Well, I won't just shove.
My foot.
He may not be the best head. He may not be the best leader of the UP Steam program, but at the end of the day, no one is perfect. You can't have a god tier level restored steam locomotive.
You mean Steve Lee?
Yeah, Steve Lee. He may not be the best, and Ed Dickens, he may not be the best. Adam Meeks, head of Canadian Pacific Steam Program, he may not be the best too. Nobody's perfect, and in steam locomotive restorations, there's still going to be a problem at one point.
Yeah.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, according to last the Giant.
Again, go back to what you said, Jim. Be happy with what you have, because again, be proud of what you have, because you never know when it's going to end again.
Yeah, and nobody really expected a big boy to run for a very long time. Be happy that we have an operational big boy now.
Yeah,
stop bitching and moaning about the fact that it burns coal. Be glad that it runs.
Stop bitching about 3985. The 3985 had her years, all right?
Yeah, his years. But whatever. We can let that slide here right now. The point is, let the Challenger rest. It deserves a long-ass sleep.
Like,
Again,
how about this?
several
Imagine.
decades down the line, who knows? It
Look.
could be it could rise like a phoenix from the ashes again.
Look, how about
They
this?
just need to get a new tender or something.
For those people out there who are asking for $39.85, I want you to run around your neighborhood for 30 days straight while pulling 2 wagons filled with children in them 30 days straight, and then tell me how you feel.
Savage!
Actually multiply that, aka 4 wagons.
Yeah, not 4 wagons. I'd make it 8. And then I would also make him get...
16!
Oh, I wouldn't just... And don't make it children, actually. Since $39.85 hauled cargo, let's see how long it takes for him to get the mail from one end and then bring it to everyone in the neighborhood using only wagons and his own legs.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't like that.
Yeah.
Again,
Or maybe
$39.85
just,
here.
or maybe, if it's humanly possible, try pulling a trailer that's filled with rocks. Because even they would have more intellect than you would ever have.
Actually, no, I got something better than rock. Lead.
Yes!
Or how about you do
Oh,
me
yeah.
Or how about you do me a
Yeah.
favor and deliver me the fox I don't give?
But yeah, 4014 is back. We should be happy. We should be happy about that. We have a big boy running, aka something that we would never think would happen. So be happy that thing is back, because you never know. Maybe Union Pacific Steam, maybe the UP Steam program will eventually die. And because again, make the most of your time, because you never know when it's going to end. Who knows? 844 might be retired next. 4014 might be even retired too. You never know. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And speaking of retirement, if the 3985 is going to come back, also what I said a few times, it will most likely be as a replacement for either 844 or 4014 if either of those two has to bow out for a big overhaul.
Yeah.
And if I have a say in the matter, I would prefer to see 844 go and enjoy a bit of rest while we would have the 2 big chunguses of the Union Pacific thundering down the track without running themselves to pieces.
But I swear to God, Jim, if you run that freaking Hammond big boy.
No. Oh, yeah. No. Show that to Ed Dickens. Show that to Ed Dickens.
No!
Yes, show it to him.
Well, I don't think that he would actually get the joke, so I won't show it to him.
But
You never know. He probably watches a Grand Tour.
anyway, guys.
Well,
Are you guys ready for the number
Anyway,
1?
moving on.
Are you guys ready for the number 1?
The number
is
one.
it a
I
certain
like.
shitty Pacific?
One that is overflowed by everyone, including a young man named Owen Miller.
Yes. Say the number with me now. 13.
Pennsylvania Railroad number
1361. Yeah.
1361.
But I just couldn't leave it out because, I mean, even it would be sacrilege to do so. Even Steven said it in his retired Steam Excursion Star. This thing was too short-lived. Way too short. Just, yeah. But anyway, for the Pennsylvania Railroad fans out there, I know you're here, PRR, and Bolton Gear is here too. Anyway, PR, we all
Dude,
know.
Bolton Gear.
Yes.
We run a hammer straight through the boiler barrel of a K-4 Pacific.
And then Owen gets angry at us.
Tonight on Bolton Gear, I fit the 4014 with a Vanderbilt tender. Steven takes the 430.
Tonight on Bolton Gear, I say a steam engine is overrated. Owen frowns upon me for doing so. Jim talks about the Challenger for the 3rd time. And then Dan talks about a Royal Hudson again. I tried.
Tonight, look, I'm actually going to try doing that, but tonight on Bottom Gear, I fit a big boy with a Vanderbilt tender. Steven Steele 33 and cosplays as the Virginian Creeper in the state of Florida. Dan takes the 3254 and makes a barbecue out of it.
What?
And I take 3759 for my own pleasure. All this and more tonight on Bottom Gear.
Tonight, first Keeper, Richard Hammond drives across Germany in a death trap.
Tonight,
War crimes in Afghanistan.
No, wait. Tonight, I drive the 3254 off the Kinzua
That's the bridge that got destroyed by the tornado.
I think
You savage!
My God. Oh.
But no,
Yeah.
it's it's easy to see why 1361 is on the list.
Yes.
Like, even with 3985, you had a 2-year botch job for nearly 30 years of service.
Yes.
1361, 1-year botch job for only 1 year of service.
And of course, you had to do it with Pennsylvania's most famous steam locomotive. And of course, now deemed officially as the state steam locomotive of Pennsylvania, with 1361 and 3750 being the only K4 class Pacifics left in existence, and 1361, of course, being the lucky one to be either even dared for restoration or, even put on display in Horseshoe Curve, the most famous area for photographing trains. And of course, 1361 had to be there. So, we all know the story at this point. She was taken out of Horseshoe Curve for restoration, about 1 year of restoration, and then a year after excursion service, the main bearing and drive axle, which if you actually don't know what it is, which most of you guys actually probably don't know exactly what happened to the 1361 in detail.
It suffered a particularly hot bearing. Like it was a catastrophic failure or something.
Actually, I'll get one of my locomotives to give you an idea of it. So I'll be right back, and I will show you guys exactly what happened.
Yeah. Fucking. I would continue the story, but I'm gonna wait for Andrew to come back. Or basically, as Michael would put it, we gotta wait for Andrew to come back. Gotta get Dan in for this one.
Look how deep I am. There's nothing like tea and good book. So I love to read.
Okay, so this is the closest locomotive that I could find that has the same sort of arrangement. So 1361, as we know is a 462, but this one I have here is a Prairie, a broken one, note. But basically what happened on 1361 is when it was going down the track, the main drive axle right here, the bearings, one of the actual bearings popped out, and the whole thing just snapped.
The bearing popped out?
The whole part of the bearing popped out, and the actual axle collapsed, with the drive wheel basically looking like a piece of paper leaned up against something. And while doing so, the crankshaft did.
Is there an actual picture release of it?
No, but from what
why didn't they take a picture of it? They're stupid if they didn't do that.
I don't know, but that wasn't the end of it.
They wanted to prevent people from laughing.
But then after
also,
that,
Andrew, are you planning to fix this pretty nice model?
Yes, actually. Well, right now, this thing actually has a smoke unit, but first I need to reglue the headlight, of course. I need to completely repaint the whole thing. And, well, you can probably see that one of the pins are actually missing for the crankshaft on the right side.
And there's no cab on it.
Oh, I still have the cab. I just need to reinstall it with some new paint and everything.
I thought I actually had a similar looking steam engine to that. But anyway, continue.
So what happened to 1361 is also what happened right here. As long with that bearing failure underneath the actual drive axle, when that happened, this same thing happened right here. The crankshaft actually popped off.
The
from
driving rod came loose off of the coupling rod.
Yes, from the intense pressure of the locomotive's driver being leaned to the side. That is what happened to 1361. And that was the catastrophic failure, if you didn't know already. That is what deemed it. So,
but,
yes?
But, of course, we all know what fucked up the restoration even more.
Of course, when it was sent to Steamtown National Historic Site, where they, note, attempted to restore the damn K4. And wouldn't you know it? Well, originally with a grant of $700,000, then they were given $420,000. No coincidences. Over all of the continued funding, they ran out of money because they were probably using that to keep their other locomotives running. But you know what I mean. They couldn't restore the damn K4 because they're lazy and don't know how to use their fucking money right. Especially, look at what they have now. They have only one operational steam locomotive, and that's a fucking switcher.
It's an 06 switcher.
I mean, it is a beautiful looking switcher, but that's besides the point.
And you gotta start small, but come on.
This is like pathetic because Steamtown first, yes, they have a 26. They have 26. Then they have 2317. Which 2317 is a nice one actually. That was a decent one they kept. And then they have, of course, what I mentioned earlier of the fucking Mikado of death.
Calm down.
The E254.
Calm down. Oh shit. Like I said before, 3254 was the worst steam excursion star in history of America.
The 3250. Fuck.
America.
Fuck no. But anyway, after its time in Steamtown, which barely was long enough for the thing to even have a good restoration, they actually decided to do a, and I quote, semi-static display. Basically meaning that the locomotive could still be fired, but could only operate at low speeds around the yard and blow the whistle. But then
something like basically like the Scranton Limited excursions that they do.
Yeah. But then of course
more or less much weaker than that.
But then again, of course, the plans were cancelled afterwards. And then, well, the thing was sent away in pieces, while the boiler was sent to the East Broadtop Railroad. The rest of it, such as the frame, tender, drivers, and everything like that, were sent to the Railroaders Memorial Museum. But then finally, even if it's a small group, acquired the 1361 for restoration again. And this time, they're actually making promising movements. Where recently, I've actually seen a couple of pictures of them of the completed sandblasted tender, which nice. And right now, they're actually thinking about whether they should build a brand new boiler or restore the old one.
I think they came to the conclusion that they were going to build a new boiler.
What are they going to do with the old one, though? That's my question.
Probably scrap it.
I hope not. If they scrap one of the last K4's boilers, I'm going to.
We still have 3750 around.
So it needs to be cosmetically restored.
Agreed.
Honestly, it's looking like a Steamtown engine.
Either that, or the boiler can be, or the boiler can be cut it open and use as a form of demonstration of how a steam engine works.
I'd like that. I'd like that more than it being completely scrapped. But yeah, as we know now, 1361 is finally getting the treatment it deserves as the state locomotive of Pennsylvania. And now everyone out there who is complaining about it, shut up.
Although the
Also, special message to nostalgia
although the restoration is taking forever, it's going to be worth it. It's going to be worth the wait.
A lot. It's going to be very worth it, especially because here in America, we don't have that many operational Pacifics. In fact, currently the only three that I can name are Sugar 158. Was it? No, was it 158?
148.
148, and then we got 475, and then of course we have 3415, which 3415.
475? That's not
425. He meant 425.
Oh yeah, 425.
Yes. Oops.
You see, 475 is overrated.
It's so overrated.
462.
475 is so overrated that I accidentally mistook it for Pacific. Wow.
Little River Railroad 110.
Yeah, but you get the idea. While Britain is lucky with their thousands and thousands of 462s, then again, they have shorter trackage and
not really
small locomotive.
But what do we have in America? What kind of shit do we have in America when it comes to steam excursion locomotives?
We have too many northerns.
And Mikados.
We have too many northerns. That's what.
Too many northerns, too many consolidations, too many Mikados, but Mikados aren't as bad as the Connies, though, when it comes to their...
Sir, you're talking to a man who's seen a Connie in person twice.
I've seen two Connies in person. How about that?
You're talking to a guy who's working to restore a Connie in person.
I'm the only one who hasn't seen a Connie in real life.
Well, you're lucky. You've seen shit tons of decapods, and the only decapod that I've seen is that horrible, overrated one at Strasbourg that Michael would bust his goddamn nuts open to.
Oh wait, never mind. I did see a few Connies.
Oh.
GWR Connies.
Oh.
Of course.
Well,
were they tender engines or tank engines?
One tender engine, two tank engines.
Well, the tank engines are acceptable because you don't see many tank engine Connies around, do you?
But in America, that's all that people really wanted to preserve for the most part.
I mean, they're like the most versatile locomotive.
Well, what about the 460s?
My ass. 460s are more versatile.
Agreed, Steven.
Traffic locomotives.
Steven, I agree. I 100% agree. There should have been more 460s preserved in America. Those would have been
316.
Or I have an idea. Or wait, I mean, there's only been one Texas type operated preservation in the States. I don't know about anywhere else, unless maybe it's like there's one in Africa, in the Revenue Service or whatever. But the only one that is operated an excursion service in North America.
none other than the American Freedom Train 610.
The unsung hero of the Freedom Train. In that Ross Rowland Giant of Steam video, there's that one mention of 610.
Nobody mentioned 610.
I think we kind of went through the list, didn't we?
Yeah, the list is over. But
okay, so we're gonna close the video.
Well, I guess for now. But tune in next time on Burning Subjects. Well, on Burning Subjects anyway, where we're gonna be talking about some tank engines, and don't any of you mention the cursed Tonkus.
Mainly what I want to do is give you guys a bit of a history on the Great Western's heavy freight tank engine family.
And I'm actually going to be talking about America's heavy freight tank engines, and it's not the triplexes. For the title of the next one is going to be successful tank engines. Not successful, but the greatest tank engines.
Is there going to be an unsuccessful Tank Engines episode? Because then that means I'm going to have to talk about those 2 cursed locomotives. Those 2 cursed. The 2 cursed streamlined locomotives.
Oh, you mean the German class 61s?
Yeah.
Fine. I mean, for some reason, the streams like to watch us ramble on about us complaining about Sid because, I mean, look at the stream because I actually forgot to read some of this. Let's see here. I'll read this before we go.
See. I almost so much hate 1361 in the thumbnail.
Oops.
Oh, the famed experimental blue. Elijah Trofford said that you're so funny, Andrew.
Elijah Trofford. Elijah Trofford is not a bright bulb at all. In fact, he's really dumb.
Jim, don't say to Dan what I put in chat.
What you put in chat?
Nothing.
What you put in chat?
Nothing. I didn't put
What
anything.
you put in chat?
Hashtag beer can.
God damn it, Jim! I told you not to tell him.
Where's the bell?
I had to.
Okay, can I say a quick closing remark?
What?
Okay, before the stream ends, I have a quick closing remark.
Yeah.
Stay safe, and always remember, don't tickle AJ.
Tickle AJ Tickle. Always
Without
tickle AJ Tickle.
interruption, let's celebrate and suck some dick.